Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America, all the ships at sea.
Today on the Ktown Connects podcast, our guest has been a great leader in our community as a school teacher, historian, volunteer, writer, and a former Kenosha County Executive. Today, we tip back a pint and connect with John Collins. Cue that music.
Kenosha, that great big busy town. Right in the middle of the USA, between the New York Harbor and the San Francisco Bay. Well, the wonderful East, the beautiful West, that's the right place to be from. Sing it so loud of it because we're so proud of it. Kenosha, my hometown. Give me a beer. No! Oh.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Ktown Connects. I'm your host, Jason, and with me is...
Donnie.
Hey, how you doing today, Don?
I'm doing fantastic today, Jason. I'm excited for this episode of the Ktown Connects podcast.
Yeah, and we're recording here at Luigi's Pizza, like always, at 7531 39th Avenue. They're open Tuesday through Sunday. Give them a call at 262-694-6565.
And check out their full menu and order online at luigispizzakitchen.com. And you know what? Cue that catchphrase. Order those pizza pies.
And be sure to like us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, drop us a review, and tell your friends about the hottest podcast in town.
And that's the Ktown Connects podcast. Also want to thank Droppin' Daisies for that rockin' theme song. Thank you, Dropping Daisies.
Yeah, it's a great song.
It is.
Number one on the charts.
Still number one.
And our Patreon supporters get to hear this episode early and ad-free. You can join the Patreon party by searching for Ktown Connects at patreon.com.
Subscriptions start at just $2 a month, and you will get early ad-free episodes, all the cutting room floor material, all that juicy stuff, and even more great exclusive content. Well, you can also check out our new segment, It Is What It Is. It's a great series where we have some fun, and we got some great new stuff lined up.
We do.
It's going to be extraordinary.
Bringing back some old guests for some fun stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
And are you in the need of some new duds? Do you want to be the coolest cat in the room next time you're out on the town? Well, you need some Ktown Connects merchandise, and we have the merch store courtesy of the Lettering Machine. For all your exclusive Ktown Connects t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, face masks, and more, visit our website, ktownconnects.com, and click on that merch banner for more.
And for all your garment print and embroidery needs, contact the Lettering Machine. They are located at 720 50th Street. Check out their website at theletteringmachine.com for more.
And we need to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors.
Kaiser's Pizza and Pub, located at 510 57th Street.
Captain Mike's, 5118 6th Avenue.
Union Park Tavern, 4520 8th Avenue.
The Pine Blossom is over on 5925 6th Avenue A.
And Lucci's Grandview. Say hi to Sarah and AJ at 6929 39th Avenue.
All right. So what are we doing today, Donnie?
Hey, we're going to be connecting with John Collins. Welcome aboard, John.
How you doing? It's a great day.
yes.
Sun is out.
Yeah, the sun is out. The summer is almost here, right?
The summer has officially started, I think, because we have sunshine and green stuff instead of snow. So it's got to be spring at least.
When you say green stuff, what are you referring to?
I'm referring not to the stuff that they sell in Illinois that we can't sell here. I am referring to the lawn that the Parks Department, we pay the Parks Department to mow.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know which way this podcast was going to go.
Kentucky bluegrass. How's that?
There we go. I like that. So, John, we're just going to kind of get to know you a little bit. You didn't grow up in Kenosha, did you?
Oh, I never grew up at all.
That's
the best deal. I was born up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. We lived right on the border between Wisconsin and Michigan, so I guess I moved from the extreme north to the extreme south of Wisconsin and kind of skipped the part in the middle. The town that we lived in was, such as it was about a mile into Wisconsin, but everything else, including their post office address, was in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
So, we had, so I'm officially a Youper, which is the expression somebody invented up there, but it's kind of cool marketing sort of thing.
Because UP. Upper Peninsula, yeah.
And if you have to put the accent on it right, you have to talk like a Canadian. You say, I'm from the UP, eh? And that's, and so we are Youpers. So we moved down here in the 50s because we lived on a farm, and it was a lot of hard work, and I was a little tyke at the time. And when I got to the point where I didn't want to do the work, I told the family to move. So we moved down here. My dad got a job at the Motors. This was a big deal back then. Everybody, half of Kenosha came from either northern Wisconsin, upper Michigan, or from the deep south to move here to get jobs in the Motors and the other industrial facilities that were in Kenosha. So we moved down here, settled in by Columbus Park. And that's where you learn to fight. We lived in a neighborhood. You protect yourself there, but it was good. We lived there. I went to Frank's school, and everything has changed. To go back there to the neighborhood now, and it's kind of not the same as it was. Yeah, though it wasn't the height of society when I lived there, but it's unfortunately gotten a little bit more difficult in that area.
So you're down there at the old Bradford, which is
at the old Bradford, Mary D. Bradford. We lived by Columbus Park, so we were like 10 blocks away. Okay. So I did walk to school every day.
What kind of kid were you in high school?
What kind of kid?
Yeah.
Troublemaker?
Well, I didn't cause. Unfortunately, I look back and I said, God, all of the opportunities that I missed to be a real troublemaker. But no, I wasn't a troublemaker. I was kind of the nerdy kid in between. I did stuff. I was the photography editor of the yearbook and the school newspaper, and I did that kind of stuff. Okay. It was a lot of fun.
So tell us about your first girlfriend in high school.
My first girlfriend in high school? Yeah. Oh, she was a beauty.
Yeah?
She was. That's why she didn't left me alone. Left me in the ditch. There was a very nice girl. We had a prom, 1963. God, that's a long time ago. Prom. I still have the picture somewhere in some box someplace.
Where was that held at?
The prom was held at the Eagles Ballroom.
Okay.
Oh.
That was now Marina Shores, but then it was the Eagles Ballroom. They kept us overnight because they weren't going to no trouble here. They kept an eye on everybody. They had lots of people with.
They kept you locked in overnight?
They kept us locked in until the next morning. Then they made pancake breakfast for us, and then they.
Were any kids sneaking off in the dark corners during the night?
There were big guys. The teachers keeping an eye on everybody. That was fun.
So tell us about your first job.
Oh Lord, I had when I was a little kid. When I was actually somebody paid me to do something instead of the old man pointing and say move that. And I delivered newspapers. And you never could get a job with the Kenosha News because that was kind of a locked-in sort of social thing. If you were at a higher rung in life than I was, you would get a job with the Kenosha News. I had to delivered the Milwaukee Journal.
Okay.
On a bicycle, this big Schwinn bicycle, the big with the big tires.
Yeah.
And you put this bag on your side. And it's full of 50, 60 pounds worth of newspapers.
Especially on Sundays, huh?
Sundays that's a whole other story. But my route was from the easternmost was Frank's Diner.
Okay.
And I had people all the way over to 26th Avenue and from 60th Street to 52nd Street.
That's a hike.
It was a big.
Well, I imagine with the Milwaukee Journal, it's not as many subscribers. Kenosha News would be almost every person.
Yeah.
This you had one person every block or two.
And
here and there.
Then you had to collect.
The collection days.
This little piece of paper, a little 3x5 cards that punched out, and you had to go and knock on people's doors, and they
give me my $2.
Yeah.
But you probably got some good tips Christmas time, right?
No tips. Some tips. Not in that neighborhood. You didn't get tips. Best tip was duck.
Look out, kid!
Look out, kid! Here it comes. No, it was fun. We did that. I did that. Delivered over the years a whole bunch of different newspapers. It's sort of mindless work, but then you had to. I was doing that when I was in junior high school, basically.
Okay.
And then after that, I was a Sammy man.
So when you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Grown up. from what I was or where I came from or what my family and the neighbors did, I think there was a general presumption that I was going to end up on the line at the Motors where my dad and all of my relatives were, at some other sort of place. And people take their own path in life based upon who they are, and that just didn't fit. That just didn't fit me. It fit a lot of other people for whom I have a great deal of respect, but it never fit. It never fit into me. That never interested me, and I couldn't imagine that. So I was graduated from high school, and I was telling someone the other day. I remember sitting in one of the classes. You're a high school kid, and and the teacher says, it's getting toward the end of the year. So where are you going? Where are you going to school next year? And this one's going to the University of Wisconsin. This one's got some other fancy butt school. They're going around, and they're coming to me, and I'm starting to perspire because I am going to be the one who says, I don't know. But I did go to, doesn't exist anymore, KTI, Kenosha Technical Institute, which was the forerunner of Gateway Technical College, to study data processing. It was absolutely the worst decision and the worst experience of my then short life.
And what was data processing? What that mean in the 60s?
It meant you're supposed to run a computer.
Okay.
I don't know anything about a computer. I'm not really all that good in math. I can do math. I taught math, but this was on a whole different level. And I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So I went there, and this was the machine that we worked on. There was actually one of them in the computer museum. That's an IBM 1620. I had a big old machine with punch cards and all that. And I was totally lost. I was a complete and utter failure at that. It's like, then I think, my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah. Right, reality sets in.
At some point, the old man's going to say, hey, get out of here. You got to go find a job. And so I ended up, it's a group of friends, and one of the girls that we hung around with was going to Racine Kenosha County Teachers College. No longer exists. Okay. I could sing the song, but you don't want to hear that. Racine Kenosha Teachers College out in Union Grove, and I went to school there. I decided I'll go try that. Yeah. I can't do this. The computer stuff was so bad. Picture this. They took a field trip to show us what we were going to be doing with the rest of our natural lives. So they put us in vans and they drove us down to Great Lakes Naval Training Center. So we are at Great Lakes, and there is a computer. I think that Donnie's iPhone has more capacity. And this thing was the size of China. Wow. And it's got lights flashing all over the place. And things are whirling, and out comes this big stack of paper, all computer paper, all printed together. Hundreds, if not thousands, of pages with ones and zeros in it. And guys were with short sleeved white shirts and thin black ties, and thick glasses were going over it. And I said, "What are they doing?" They said, "They're checking the program. They're reviewing the." And if you study hard, that's what you'll be doing. Oh, yeah. That's when I said, I'm out of here.
That sounds very riveting.
That sounds riveting. I got to be with people. I can't sit there with a bunch of paper. And
zeros and ones. And just
zeros and ones and whirly-googags going on around. That doesn't work. So I went to Racine Kenosha Teachers College. When I walked in the door, and like that, I said, okay, my life has just remarkably changed. It was a miracle. I mean, it was. I mean, it's a little dinky, no longer existing school, but it fit right into my wheelhouse. Did that for 2 years, graduated from there, and made lifelong friends because it was a small group, and you couldn't afford to have too many enemies in a group like that. And then I went up to University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, graduated there, and then came back to teach. And
what did you study there?
Education.
Okay.
So I came back and then taught for 10 years at Wilson School.
It was elementary. What grade did you teach?
I taught 5th and 6th, fifth and sixth grade. All right. Occasionally a little smaller kids, but that would be very infrequently.
Over at Wilson, that's over on 4520 33rd Avenue.
It hasn't moved.
They haven't moved that yet.
It was a challenged neighborhood, and it was a challenging role, and I did that for 10 years and enjoyed it immensely. I left teaching for a couple of reasons. One of them is because I saw a lot of other teachers who were social friends, or a generation ahead of me, who were teaching in my building, who probably had the same passion and energy that I did when they were 25.
Yeah.
They were now not 25 anymore.
Just beaten down.
And the passion had they were there like, okay, sit down. And it was all of the energy and dynamic stuff that we were doing with the kids just wasn't there. Now, that doesn't happen. I know teachers that were 65, 68 years old still teaching and still had the fire.
Yeah.
But if you don't, when you're looking at that, you say, I don't know if I can continue doing that. Pretty soon, I was afraid that it was going to become just a job and needed to have a move, so I did something else.
Okay, so one more question before we move on to that. So a lot of people are saying that how Kenosha is so much worse these days, how everything's going to hell and blah, blah, blah. And you grew up in the Columbus Park neighborhood. You worked at a school in the area. What's your opinion on that? Do you agree or disagree?
Well, we've been saying we're going to go to hell since the birth of Christ, I think, and we probably have a couple of times. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Everything's more mainstream now.
I think things are different. Now, we had a lot of Columbus Park area. My neighborhood, we were having a murder every year and a half or so within a few blocks of my house. There was gambling, a lot of gambling that went on. That was now they're doing it online and it's all legal, I guess. But we had bookies and stuff. There was a lot of other bad stuff, illegal stuff that was going on in the neighborhood. So things were tough then. I think it's different now. There isn't necessarily more or less. It's just different. I think the dynamic is different than it was back then, and it's not to glorify what it was then or how it is now. But life is all about change, and the world changes, and you need to understand that. And the people who lose out in the world are the ones who get very stubborn and say, back when I was a kid, it was all like good.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It was different. So we have to recognize the differences and try to move the pendulum in a direction that perhaps is better for all of us. That's my lecture for the day.
Very well said. I agree with you 100% on that.
And I think we're going to take our first break real quick, and we'll be right back with more with John Collins.
And we're back from that first break.
That was a great break, wasn't it?
It really was.
I got to use that great bathroom here at Luigi's Pizza Kitchen.
It's a fantastic bathroom. So keep an eye out on our social media for our next big giveaway, and it's sponsored by some great local businesses: Frank's Diner, Faded Barbershop for Men, and Lulu Birds.
We have been giving away some great stuff lately, and we have a very special giveaway coming up that isn't for those silly people on Facebook. This one's exclusive for you, our listener.
Yeah, just for you listeners. So we are putting together the biggest giveaway we have ever done, with stuff like Ktown Connects merch, gift certificates to more places than I can even mention, and so much more.
This one will not be mentioned on social media one bit, so keep this between us. Shh. There's just two things you need to do to be eligible for this giveaway. One, listen to the Ktown Connects podcast, which you're doing, so you got that one. And two, drop us an email to ktownconnects@yahoo.com.
That's right. Drop us a line in the subject line, raffle, and we will send you back a message confirming that we got it and you are entered to win. It's seriously that easy. It is that easy, Jason.
That easy. And don't worry, we're not one of those evil corporations who are going to send your email address out to those annoying spammers. And we aren't one of those annoying companies that are going to bombard you with emails every time we trim our toenails. Nope, we're keeping it simple here, folks. Just drop us a line and you are entered to win this great prize.
Yep. We will be drawing a winner on a live video, which will come at the end of this second season around late June, so stay tuned.
Yeah, it's going to be a great prize.
Oh, there's so much good stuff in there, and every week we're adding stuff.
And you have stuff that you don't like, you can give away for gifts. You know, you can make your mom happy, give her a gift card to someplace, and lots of great stuff. Some great merch in there. There's a Ktown Connects hoodie.
Yeah.
Keep you warm.
Lemon Street mug, courtesy of me, a board member of Lemon Street.
Wow, amazing. All right, so we're here talking to John Collins. And so when we left you, John, you were working as a teacher at Wilson Elementary School, but also at that time you were starting to get involved with politics.
Yeah, I had been I guess when I was growing up, the family dinner table was involved with discussion of current events and opinions.
Oh, nice.
No pies were thrown, no pot roast was dropped. It was just sort of like sometimes heated discussions. So out of that, I think grew an interest in political life, what's going on in the world, and all of that. So,
did your mom and dad have different opinions on things? They'd battle it out and stuff.
Oh, yes. They would. One would have one opinion, the other would sort of automatically have the other. But
That's good.
It's just sort of like, that was fine. And
that's good.
My mother would remind my father. She said, "I'm going down to the polls just so I cancel out your vote." Anyway, so I always had that sort. I did a lot of reading and thinking, and there was just always political discussion in our house. So I got involved in the local Democratic Party, became chairman. I was chairman for years and years, and active in the state Democratic Party, all that. And then ran for office in '78. I was teaching school at the same time that I was active in the Democratic. That was kind of my sideline, was the Democratic Party stuff. I was the school teacher, and one would call, I guess, a political activist. I was active in the party. Yeah. And then there was an opening for county clerk in 1978, and I ran for that and won. And then the rest of it is history. I ended up there. So all of us have different journeys we take through this life of ours, and there are all of these really interesting points at which all of a sudden everything changes and goes that way. Yeah. Some people, say, well, God closes the door but opens a window. Sometimes he locks the window up too. So you just have to be persistent and keep pushing around and figuring out what you want to do. So after my political career in Wisconsin, in Kenosha, I ended up working in Madison for state government for a long time, doing some really interesting things there. And at each one of those phases, whether I was teaching school, whether I was the county clerk, whether I was the county executive, or whether I was working for one of the departments in Madison, I ended up coming out of that with a whole new set of knowledge that I didn't have before I went in. So that's I think the cool part of different jobs. If you're doing one thing, you do it for your whole life, and the only thing you know how to do is that, and the only perspective you have is that, then you're kind of flat. Yeah. So '78, you run for the Kenosha County Clerk, and you won your very first time you're going for election. That was a tough one, and it was. We had a recount. I won by a small number of votes. You remember who you beat? Yes, I do, and he is no longer with us. Okay. They have 3 people. And the other 2 are deceased. Nothing to do with the election.
They lost to you, so
yeah. So one of them ended up being a very good friend and passed away recently. Had moved out of town because this stuff should not be personal. It should not be personal, and it gets that way. It always has, and it always will. But it's. I've had people getting the political phrase with and ended up being very close friends with over the years. Yeah. So that's the way it's. I think it's healthy to have people with different beliefs too. That way you can kind of see things different ways. You have to have smart people, and it's seriously. You have to listen to people, and sometimes that's a shortcoming that I have. It's been repeated to me by people who disagreed with me many times, saying, "You are stubborn. You don't listen." Yeah. Yeah, I have listened, but I don't think you're right. Was that a 4-year term? At that point, it was a 2-year term. Okay. You got elected, and then you started running again. Yeah, it seems like it never stopped. So now they changed it afterwards, making it a 4-year term. Okay. They call them, they're the county line officers because they were just sort of like, there's the clerk and there's the treasurer. And there's the register of deeds, and there's the sheriff, and there's the district attorney. And those people are, those are the people that have got administrative responsibilities. And in the early 80s, they created the office of county executive that of folded a lot of that, except those responsibilities that had been assigned, that were legally set aside for the county treasurer, the county clerk, or the register of deeds. Those are still continue as they have since the 1840s. But the county executive is responsible for being the GM, the general manager, the CEO of the county government. And then you ran for that in 86.
And how would that go, that election?
That went damn well. Thank
Obviously,
you.
you won, huh?
Yeah.
Landslide? Was it a landslide?
Yeah, it was a landslide. That was the first and last landslide I had.
So in 86, you're coming on as a Kenosha executive,
Right.
and
that's when
Kenosha is in a period of change.
That's when it hit the fan.
Yes. Is that the year the Chrysler came in?
Oh, God. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it's unbelievable. All of this stuff happened within a 2-year period.
Mm-hmm.
Chrysler and AMC were doing this dance.
Yeah.
Nobody knew where the dance was going to end. Well, at least I didn't, and I don't think local officials knew where the dance was going to end. But there was a dance going on.
Mm-hmm.
Here you had Chrysler and AMC making some large-scale corporate decisions, and none of us knew what they were going to be. So Chrysler essentially bought AMC, and because they wanted the Jeep line.
Okay.
And there was all this trouble that followed. One of the VPs of Chrysler came to visit me in the courthouse, and he said, "Here's what I need. We've got some choices here. We're going to make these cars, these K-body cars, the smaller cars they had, whatever they were. We're going to make them in Kenosha, or we're going to make them in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
If we make them in Detroit, you guys are out of business. All the jobs are gone here.
And about how many jobs were in Kenosha?
5,800.
Wow.
And at one point, American Motors employed 13,000 people here in Kenosha. And this was back when Kenosha was a smaller town. We were a mass importer of workers. We exported product. We imported workers. You could drive down 52nd Street early in the morning, and you would see cars from Waukegan and Milwaukee loaded with guys. They would drop them off at the gates of American Motors, and they would go in. Plus all the workers they had here.
So how did they lose half of, or over half, by the 80s?
They were on oxygen because American Motors had not been economically stable forever. It was a very small company with a very limited number of vehicles, styles of vehicles.
They had their heyday in the 70s there, or the 60s.
They had, they would have a good selling car, and that would run out, and they didn't have anything else to sell.
Okay.
Where GM, if the big cars were popular, they could sell you a Cadillac. Mm-hmm. If the small cars were popular, they could sell you a small Chevrolet. So they had a full platter of things to sell you. American Motors didn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So they were on the threshold of bankruptcy. They were essentially bought out by the French. Mm. And so
Renault came on. Yeah.
Renault came in here. Renault started doing final assembly on French-made cars here in Kenosha.
I had an Alliance with such a piece of junk.
I never had one, but I did have the second model, which was the Encore.
Okay.
Which was the same thing. It was not the best car. I had one of those for several years. Anyway, so they had all this. They had all of these products that Renault needed made in Kenosha, and it fit hand in glove in. So they were making Renault here, and then Chrysler cut a deal with the French and all of that, and it ended up over the course of time causing the plant here to close.
Yeah.
But that was in 86. That was just starting to heat up. The guy from Chrysler came to my office, and he said, he took out a legal pad, drew a line down the middle. He said, I'm going to make a list on one side of what they will give me in Michigan to keep their factory here, and I'm going to make on the other side what you will give me in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to keep the factory here.
Oh, yeah.
He said, what I need from you, the state gave him a pile of money. They tore up railroad tracks. They put new railroad tracks in, and they said to me, we need a parking lot paved. We can't pave parking lots on private property. Sorry, we can't do that. He said, okay, fine. That solves that problem, implying they were going to close the factory.
Wow.
So we had to get some money and give it to the Economic Development Corporation, which then gave it to Chrysler to pay somebody else to do this. This was a lot of money, and then the whole thing just went south.
Yeah, because I was a kid at the time, but it seemed like we saw AMC was going down the tubes, but then it almost seemed like Chrysler was coming in, scooping it up, and going to save the day, kind of thing. That's how it kind of appeared to the general public at the time, and that didn't happen. And within like 2 years, they were gone.
It over a course of a very short period of time, Chrysler had they're sitting in board meetings trying to figure this out. They've got a product that they're selling that they are still manufacturing that's selling high, but they can't make it anymore because it's programmed to go. They took that and put it in Kenosha to finish off the production of it, and as long as it was selling. They had a big one, a bigger car, an M-body, I think it was, and they had the smaller one. So they were making end runs on these cars. That's a wrong term. Sounds like you're playing football. But you know what I'm talking about. It was like, it was after they needed their capacity in Detroit to make a new car. They had to stop making this car, but they were still selling, so they moved it and started making it in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Okay. And they cut all kinds of deals. The state gave them a lot of money. We got a lot of that money came back at the end because we embarrassed Chrysler. Because there was a lot of Chrysler generated a lot of bad publicity. Yeah. And Lee Iacocca was getting embarrassed, and they just decided to cash out. They gave us a lot of money. I negotiated the removal of the factory buildings. Oh. He was calling me to tell me that they were going to cease production of automobiles. They were going to keep the engine line, which they kept for 20 years, but they were going to stop making vehicles here. I said, "Oh my God!" He said, "What can I do to help?" I thought for a second. I said, well, here's what I need. All of the buildings that you guys are not going to use, take them down. Yeah. I don't want them here because it's going to look like South Bend, Indiana. Yeah. You'll have these big hulking buildings sitting in the middle of town forever. Rotting away. And nobody is going to come in here. I mean, there were people foolishly saying, "Oh, you keep those buildings because we're going to come in here and we're going to put it in." No. No. So all those buildings got taken down, all of them. We got the development downtown on the lakefront. That was all on Simmons Factory. That was then American Motors. And, of course, that 100 and some acres that John Anaramian is trying to figure out what to do with in the middle of town. Yeah. All of those were taken. It cost Chrysler hundreds of millions of dollars to take all that. But it was all taken down and carted away. So now we've got some opportunity in the city of Kenosha to redevelop that and make something useful for future generations, other than having some rat-infested old factory building. Yeah, rotting away there. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it?
What would you like to be there in that spot? What would you like to see?
What's your dream?
My dream is not to have a bunch of housing there, because that's going to, I think the mayor is on the right track with trying to find some unique little techie things that can move in there. You're not going to have any place there that manufactures products. Nope. Because how are you going to get them out of town? You're going to put them on a truck like they used to with the AMCs and drive them out 52nd Street, stoplight.
Well, if you want to go old school, the train tracks are right there.
Yeah, exactly. The train track. If they could do it. That's conceivable. The truth of the matter is that just prior to Chrysler pulling the plug, there were discussions with them about building a new factory. Oh. Because that factory was 100 years old, out of date, and not where they wanted it anymore. They wanted it out by the interstate.
Makes sense.
Easier to move.
So there was discussion. It never got beyond, let's talk about this sort of thing. But the state was willing to help them build something probably for less money than they started with Foxconn.
I remember.
Stir something else up, right?
Yeah, I remember as a kid seeing the trucks coming with the cars back and forth.
Well, can you imagine this? You are not some guy who works at the Motors, not some guy who lives down this street, but the person who is responsible to go to the board of directors of the company and say, I got a plan. We're going to have this big old factory. It's going to be 6 miles down a busy street with stoplights, and that's where we're going to do final assembly, but we're going to make the bodies in Milwaukee and put them on a truck and drive them down Highway 41, later I-94, and drive them in and have them lined up here to get in and put. No. And they look at you because that's not how car factories. If you look at the one outside of Rockford, Illinois, is a big long tube. The metal goes out one end, the tires go in here, the motors that they got from somewhere go here, and they all line up. And it goes up, and they put it together. This makes sense. And the factory downtown that old man Simmons built back starting in the 1800s, they had lines that moved up from one floor down to another and over that way. It
was like a 4-story building, wasn't it?
Yeah, or parts of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's all interesting. And when I open my car factory, with the cool little cars, like when I was a little kid and I got these plastic models and made these aerodynamic cars. When I start making those in real life, I'm going to get a new factory, not an old one.
There you go.
Yeah.
I want to see the History Center move to the Chrysler site.
I'm on board there, the History Center.
Oh,
yeah.
Our good friend Chris Allen loves the show.
Oh, Chris is wonderful.
Yes, he is.
What a great find.
I mean, I love the location where it's at, but I just think it would be a whole new place.
The
in the
building
Chrysler
where
site.
we are now has problems. It's, when you take a building that's been built for one purpose
and turn it into something else.
and you start, hell, it's older than I am. So it's very old. It's an
Still
old.
had that water damage from last year.
Yeah, and we've just last week we had local contractor rooting around trying to, all this is salvageable stuff. So if one of your sponsors wants to write out a check for maybe $15-20 million,
Oh, there we go.
talk to Kevin down at the diner.
Yes.
He's got a pocket full.
I'm sure he's listening to the show right now.
But somebody's got, that's what it's going to take.
Right.
And in fact, we just, when the pandemic hit, I'm in charge of the building committee at the center. And we had just contracted with Kamosi Architects to do a plan for us. And we were just going to get it when all of this stuff. Now we'll be back. This summer we'll get the
because the History Center is going to be opening the second week of May,
Yeah,
I'm hearing.
yeah,
I
yeah.
talked to Chris today.
Yeah.
He was telling me about the grand new reopening, so to speak.
So, but the building is, we got stuff stuck in here and stuff stuck in here. And that's kind of it works. And we're very grateful to the city of Kenosha and Mayor Antaramian and the rest of them who have allowed us to use that facility for very reasonable.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah.
I just feel it's so buried back there. When people think of the museums in Kenosha, they never think.
This is a hand-to-mouth operation, and we don't. There's not a lot of cash. It's not like we can go out and say, "I'm going to go to the bank and say, give me." We just got a report done, and it says that it's going to cost us $12 million to build a building to meet our needs. So why don't you let us borrow $12.5 million because things happen.
Yeah.
That isn't the way it works.
Yeah.
You have to have, $10 million to start with. So, so we're looking around. Maybe how about the back room at Luigi's?
Hey, now
Hey,
we go.
put it right in there. We could have some old pizzas.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of beer bottles that were left over.
As long as we can use it on Mondays to record our show.
Okay, you got it. You got it. It's a deal.
And why is it the Kenosha History Center and not the Kenosha History Museum?
Because somebody screwed up. How's that? I don't know.
Okay.
It was always the Kenosha County. First of all, the stuffy name of it is the Kenosha County Historical Society. And when they moved down there, everybody's a center now. Nobody has things; they have centers. So there was the Brookside Nursing Home. We renamed that the Brookside Care Center. So it's a shopping center. Everything is a center. So this thing became the Kenosha County History Center, and people don't know it's a museum.
Yeah.
So we're trying to fudge around and figure out how to put a new sign up that says flashing lights, this is a museum, because people don't know what it is.
Right.
It's my favorite museum in town, too.
Mine as
Oh,
well.
I love it. And I live downtown. I live by the museums, and all of them are just great. I mean, the two city museums, my kids come from Chicago or other places in Illinois. They come to visit. And they take the little kids over to the museums.
Oh, yeah.
These are, for a city this size, these are first-class museums.
I agree. We're very lucky to have these in our town.
And we don't have a children's museum, though. We should have one of those. We could have children posing in different positions,
There we go.
So, John, you are retired. I use that in quotes, but you're pretty active. Like you just talked about, you're on the History Center board. You also serve on the HarborMarket board.
And the Shalom board.
And the Shalom board.
Shalom board. Each of these is different, and I enjoy all of them. And I'm in a different phase of life with each of them. I'm relatively new on the History Center board and on the HarborMarket board. I served for 2 years as the board chair of Shalom, and before that I've been there for a long time.
Okay.
And was there helping to put the new buildings up and all that. Now I'm past. I got the little titles called
Shalom
past.
Center, another center.
Shalom Center. That's Shalom Center.
You do a lot of work with the Kiwanis as well?
I was a past governor of the Wisconsin, Upper Michigan Kiwanis, and the very active member of the Western Kiwanis, who up until last year put on this wonderful thing called Taste of Wisconsin, and we'll do it again next year.
That's a shame for
It
this
just
year. But
and we had it was just very difficult sitting there, and we had to make this decision. And I frankly didn't want to make that decision. I supported moving ahead, but there's just so many unknowns. And then you've got the time frame of this coming up in August, and we're looking around the room saying we don't have our stuff together.
Right, you got to get the sponsors. You got to get all the
you go to
people to help
sponsors.
set up.
You say you sponsored last year. You gave us a check for $5,000. Okay, and we want you to come back, man. We want you back.
Right.
And give us a check for another $5,000. We'll put a big sign up, and we'll put your name on everything. And they said, we don't know. Are you going to have it? We said, we think so. Well, are you going to have like 60,000 people over that 3-day period? We don't know. It could be 12,000, or maybe you can't give them the food virtually. So we don't know. We don't really know.
Yeah.
What's going to happen. And some people said, no, I don't. I think we'll skip this year.
Right.
And we don't want to be the sponsor if somebody gets sick. I don't think anybody will get sick there, but I mean, it's like,
Well, there's a COVID outbreak or
it's
something.
a COVID outbreak, and we don't want to be this COVID outbreak sponsored by,
Right. Makes sense.
So that doesn't work real well. That doesn't work.
I'm looking forward to it coming back in 2022 because it
Me
is one
too.
of my favorite events.
Can I tell
in
you
Kenosha.
something?
Please do.
Our Kiwanis Club uses that money. We made a handsome profit off of that. That money goes to a variety of places. We have we give the Shalom Center food pantry, depending on the year, $5,000-$6,000. That's a lot of money. A lot of cans of tuna you can buy with that kind of money. Money goes into scholarships for local high school kids.
It's a good cause, yeah.
Spending money on beer can have a reward.
There we go. I like that.
Amazing. And then finally, you also are diving into writing lately. I see you have a lot of interesting pieces on Kenosha.com.
Well, yeah, I like to do that. I'm not there on a routine basis. It's periodically when the good Lord moves me, or somebody calls and says, "Hey, could you write something about that?" And 500-600 word piece.
Hey, you did a great piece on Ashlands on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh,
that was a great piece.
Oh, yes.
And you do a lot of like history of Kenosha kind of thing about the street number system.
Little stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I've read it all. And,
thank you. I know somebody had to read it. My wife said no, she wasn't going to read it. I don't know who was going to read it. Now I found out.
I was the one.
You were the one. No, it's a joy doing that kind of stuff, and I enjoy. I'm the kind of guy, if I'm walking down the street somewhere now, somebody will ask a question, I start to get a whole explanation about what used to be here. I drove my kids crazy.
Oh, I love that.
Driving around town with the kids in the back and say, I remember when this used to be.
I eat that up. I'm a historian myself, so I eat that stuff up.
They preferred I would say in 10 years, this other thing is going to be there. That they would be, they would like to hear.
Yeah.
So you were the county executive for 12 years.
12 years.
And Jim Cruiser kind of worked under you. And
Jim was my administrative assistant for most of the time. It's an interesting story. I was, which I'll try to make brief. Jim, I had bumped into him along with other kids. That's been a while back, obviously. But young. There was a group at Parkside, students, politically active little group. And they were out working on various campaigns around, and I kind of knew who he was, but I didn't know him real well. And I was a county clerk, and my deputy came in my office and said, "There's this guy out there said he knows you." And I looked around the corner, and I said, "Yeah, he's the long-haired guy over the kid, He said, "Come on, what's wrong?" He said he needed to have an internship.
Oh.
He needed to have an internship because he was going to graduate from Parkside, but he needed 6 credits, which is you have to get through an internship.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, this is still. So.
Work for free? Sure. Come on in.
I paid him a little bit. I said, so I went down. I said, come back and see me tomorrow. I went to the personnel shop. I said, can we do this? He said, yeah. I said, okay. So we talked a little bit okay, fine. This is not a big deal. Mm-hmm. So he came in the next day, and we took him to lunch. And I said, okay, what do you need? He said, I only need money for gasoline. He said, I'm living with my parents. I'm in school, so I can only need money for gasoline. He said, don't give me that crap. You need beer money. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you like $6 an hour, which was, that was,
Not bad back then, yeah.
That was part-time sort of stuff. He said, oh, my God, we've been friends ever since.
And now he's not going to run again.
That's what he tells me.
He's going to be retiring. Who would you like to see as his replacement?
I don't know. Becky Mataska, Becky Mentek Mataska, the clerk of courts, has announced, and I like her. I like her a lot. She's smart, and she's also has this personality where she'll tell you what she thinks.
Nice.
Pretty directly, and I like that. And she's been in county government for a while, which is unique to other governments. It's different. So I think she would be a damn good candidate. I like her. She called me and asked me, told me she was going to run before she did, and I appreciated that a lot.
Oh, very nice.
So she's smart, and she's tough. So those are a couple of good things you have to have. Yeah. Because let me tell you, you get
put through the ringer.
Everybody is pulling on you at the same time.
Yeah, I bet. All right, well, I think that about does it for our second segment. We're going to take another quick break here, and we'll be right back with some Quick Connects with John Collins. All right, we're back from that second break.
And now it's time for Quick Connects. And Quick Connects is brought to you by Washed Out, locally owned hair products. From the suit and tie businessman to the Motorhead leather jacket rocker, Washed Out is loved by those seeking the best hair products at an affordable price. If you want that great Donnie Stancato look, visit washedouthairs.bigcartel.com for details.
For sure.
All right.
All right. You ready for these Quick Connects, John?
I don't have a clue. So you throw them and I'll duck.
Perfect. All right. Favorite famous Kenosian?
Al Molinaro.
Oh, for tasting more, it's encore.
Yes, that's right. Wonderful guy. I met him a couple times.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
The mayor had good things to say about him, too.
Yeah. Well, he was in that one Weezer video.
Oh, yeah.
I was, we did a play in Kenosha back in the 80s, and I took his position because of some personnel issue he had with somebody else in Kenosha here, but that's a whole different thing.
Oh,
he came and coached me.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, cool. Nice man. He used to sneak into Kenosha periodically and just walk around. It was done.
We need that statue of him down somewhere.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Now, try not to be partial here, but what is your favorite annual Kenosha event?
Oh, let's see. How about it's a tie between Taste of Wisconsin and HarborMarket. How's that? Got them both in.
You're still a politician.
All right. What was the worst job you ever had?
Oh, the worst job I ever had was a janitor at a discount house, where I had to go in after the place closed at 10 o'clock in the morning. They locked me in, and I had to scrub the bathrooms and until they let me out at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I had to walk to work and back about 2 miles each way.
Oy.
But that'll give you some gumption if nothing else.
Right? Yeah. All right. What's your favorite park in Kenosha?
I like Wolf and Butyl Park. I like the parks along the lake shore because that's where I live.
Beautiful. All right. What was the last great meal you had in Kenosha?
Oh, the last great meal in Kenosha. I had a great meal last night at a friend's house, but that's probably not what you're talking about. Anything that I have had at the Casa Capri or the Villa di Carlo.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Two fantastic places.
Love Italian food.
Mm-hmm. They're good.
Not bad for an Irish guy, huh?
All right, this is a tough one here. Which now closed Kenosha business do you wish you could bring back?
Oh, Jack Andrea's. I love Jack Andrea's.
Aren't they supposed to coming back? Isn't that just temporary?
No, they. I called Dave, the owner, and when they were closing it, I was almost in tears.
Oh, man.
I said,
the owner just didn't want to do it anymore?
No, it's a situation that, basically, how many generations can you hand something off?
Right.
And I've been going there since I was in Boy Scouts. I would stop there. So it's like, a long time.
Yeah.
It's a great spot. I miss it dearly every day. And I go to Cigar College there cigars all summer, no more.
They had a great cigar selection there.
Yep.
All right. In which Kenosha bar do you think you spent the most money at?
Oh, well, let's see. That is currently in existence.
No, it doesn't have to be.
Oh, let's see. That's a long list, guys. That's a long list. I would say the Bartley House The bar at the Bartley House, a lot of money there. And at TG's back when it was Chet's bar, I spent a lot of time there.
Good.
They gave me a room in the back.
Where in Kenosha would you recommend someone go for a first date?
I would send them to the Casa.
Casa Capri.
I come to Casa Capri. It's always nice there.
Yeah, it's very romantic in there too.
Yes, it is.
I was going to send them to the Spot, but then
When's the last time you swam in Lake Michigan?
on purpose.
Either way.
I haven't been in Lake Michigan. I've in a long time.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time I went swimming in Lake Michigan. I've seen people doing it out of my window, but it's usually the water is too cold.
Yeah, you have to wait till like September for it to warm up.
Yeah, right.
All right, and our last quick connect question: Big Star or the Spot?
Oh, that's another. How do you make? I like the steak sandwich at the Spot.
Okay, all right.
Along with a nice root beer to wash it down. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, well, that was our Quick Connects, and that was brought to you by Washed Out, locally owned hair products. Check them out at washedouthairs.bigcartel.com for more.
And what time is it now?
Ding, ding, ding. I think it's trivia time.
That's right, and trivia is brought to you by Coming Up Roses Cleaning and Organizing. For a professional experience at an affordable price, contact Coming Up Roses for your home or office needs. No job is too big, no job is too small. Search Coming Up Roses on Facebook or give them a call at 262-748-6978 to see what they can do for you.
Ooh, and I'm going to clean up on this trivia versus John Collins.
Yeah.
All right, John. So we have 5 questions for each of you.
I'm quaking in my boots.
They are multiple choice.
So you're telling me I have a chance.
Multiple choice.
Yes.
This isn't like where you have to write like a long answer.
No, nothing like that. I'm trying
no.
to keep it pretty easy for you guys.
Okay.
And then when I did my research on you, I saw you're originally from the UP.
The UPA.
I don't know if you ever really got back or if you take any heritage in your roots or anything.
I know where the UP is.
Okay, well, this is going to be Uper trivia.
Okay, see if I can find something.
All right. So we're going to start with our guest, John.
Oh,
What term is used for someone who grew up in the Lower Peninsula but moved to the Upper Peninsula? Is it turncoat, schmuck, or trooper?
I've never used those. We usually refer to people who are from the Lower Peninsula as trolls because they live down below the bridge. I think I'd call them a trooper.
You would be right. Trooper is correct. He's up 1-0 on you, Donnie.
Well,
Donnie, the dialect of the Uper has been influenced by many different backgrounds of the people who settled there. Which of the following groups did not have a major influence on the region? Mm-hmm. Was it the Irish, the Scandinavians, or the Finnish?
Scandinavians.
That is incorrect.
Incorrect.
It is the Irish. All right, John, question number 2 for you. What is the name of the common UP pastry filled with sliced meat and onions?
Well, you don't slice the meat up, you grind it up. It's called a pasty.
I guess you didn't even need the multiple choice.
And if you do it right, you put rutabagas in them, eh? And that sign says, and if you go to the pasty shop, it says mid or mid out, meaning you want the rutabagas in or not. Always get them with them in.
You're going to get smoked on this, Donnie.
Yeah. Well, I'm used to it in this trivia.
Donnie?
Yep.
The word ja, J-A, is commonly used in the UP to replace the word yes. What language does that word come from? Chinese, Scandinavian, or Slavic?
Scandinavian.
What is the word?
Scandinavian?
Can you say the word?
No.
Scandinavian?
B.
You are correct. Scandinavian.
Yeah. That's yeah.
So 2-1.
Whew.
John, number 3. Since 1984, what has been the slogan for the Upper Peninsula? Is it Uper today, Uper tomorrow, eh?
Can I just cut to the chase because I had a bumper sticker on the back
And what did it say?
of my red truck that said "Say yada to UPA."
That is correct.
Hey.
Once again.
I had a red pickup with a big long sticker on the back of it that said "Say yada to UPA."
And that's a slogan that they've been using since 84.
Wow.
Wow.
You know where they came from? Because the state of Michigan ran an ad campaign that says "Say yes to Michigan," and the UP, of course, had to be, slap them in the face and say yada to UPA.
See, I think Wisconsin needs to declare war on Michigan because they took our Upper Peninsula, they got their lake, but I digress. All right, Donnie, number 3.
All right.
You got one right at least so far. Donnie, what is known as one of the great wonders of the world in the UP? Is it the Reed River Basin, the Sioux Locks Waterway, or the Gipper Plateau?
Skipper Plateau.
Incorrect.
Nice.
It would be the Sioux Locks Waterway.
And the other one is the largest living organism in the world, which is a gigantic mushroom that grows underground and covers like 3 counties.
Wow.
Wow. I didn't see that in my research. That's interesting. All
That's
right.
interesting. I just made that up.
All right, John, number 4. What is the longest straight highway in Michigan known as?
The Sini Straits.
You got it.
Did you guys talk this over before?
No, I mean, these are, I grew up there.
I came up with these other answers: Clemens Corridor and the Weiner Way. I took people that were from Michigan and put them and made these other ones. You don't even let me.
The Sini Straits. I've been down that.
Donnie?
Let's do this.
What is panu kaku? Is it baked custard and sauce, a native cheesecake, or pork kebabs with vegetables?
Pork kebabs with vegetables.
Incorrect. It is baked custard in sauce.
Oh.
You know that one, John? Oh, I should have asked on that one.
I could have figured it out.
You would have guessed it, though. Huh? All right. Number 5. You're going to get this one, so.
Maybe
I think you are.
one cannot tell.
John, what is a chook? CHOOK.
A chook?
Yes.
Give me my choices.
Oh, you need these
Where do I know
choices.
that word?
Is it a shot of whiskey, a knit winter cap, or a snow chipmunk?
A chook?
A chook. CHOOK.
Never heard the word before, but I'm going to guess it's the cap.
You would be a good guess. You're right.
All right.
5 for 5.
Wow.
Donnie?
Let's see if I can add a little credibility to my score here.
Approximately what percentage of Michigan's total population lives in the UP? 3%, 8%, or 13%?
8%.
No.
What is it,
3%.
Nobody lives there anymore. Those that lived there moved.
Well, John, with a perfect score, you have whooped Donnie in trivia.
All right.
You win our prize, which is a bottle of Lou Perini's water.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You are the winner.
And that water is available for $2 for $1 at Lou Perini's
That's
when they
right.
open back up someday, so hopefully
Couple
soon.
weeks, let's hope. So maybe by the time this comes out, they're open. Who knows? But
Yeah.
Lou Perini's bottled water.
You gave him the wrong one.
You're the wrong one. Yeah, so that one.
We couldn't pick up-
another gas station's name on that bottle.
They're closed right now, so we couldn't pick up supplies. But all right, that does it for our interview with John Collins. Thank you so much, John, for coming in and
Yes,
joining
thank
us
you.
in the studio today.
And you can find some of his writings on Kenosha.com.
Yeah.
And just check him out. You write good stuff.
And stop down and see him down if he hangs out at Ashling sometimes. He's always downtown somewhere hanging out.
Check him out at the HarborMarket. I'm sure you can be down there
I'll be down
when they
there.
open up. All right. Well, that was a great episode there, Jason.
For sure.
Let's take a moment to thank our sponsors one more time.
Forget about that.
Kaiser's,
Captain Mike's,
Luigi's Grandview,
Union Park Tavern,
the Pine Blossom.
the Lettering Machine,
Coming up, Rose's Cleaning and Organizing,
Washed Out Hair Products,
Frank's Diner,
Lulu Birds,
Faded Barbershop for Men.
and last but not least, Lou Perini's Gas and Groceries.
Alrighty, well, Jason, I'm trying to figure out. I 42 episodes in. I still don't know. What are we doing here?
I guess we're connecting Kenosha.
Bingo.
Bye, everybody.
I'm from Kenosha, I say Kenosha, that great big busy town. Right in the middle of the USA, between the New York Harbor and the San Francisco Bay. I'm from Kenosha, I say Kenosha, that great big busy town. Right in the middle of the USA, between the New York Harbor and the San Francisco Bay. Well, a wonderful east, a beautiful west, that's the right place to be from. Sing it so loud of it because we're so proud of it, Kenosha, my hometown. Give me a beer. No! Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.